Emily and I met during freshman orientation at college. She was vibrant, funny, and smart, the kind of person you couldn't help but be drawn to. We quickly became inseparable. From late-night study sessions to weekend road trips, we built a world that felt ours alone. I thought we were unstoppable. We talked about everything: graduating, careers, even marriage someday. The future looked bright. But in the last few months, I started noticing small cracks. Emily was texting less during the day and more at night, always with her phone face down. She started canceling plans, saying she was swamped at work or needed time to herself. I told myself it was just stress. Work was demanding and college life wasn't easy. But a gnawing feeling inside me wouldn't go away. One Friday evening, I went over to her apartment after work. She was cooking dinner when I noticed her phone light up with a message. The name wasn't saved, just a number. I glanced and saw the words, "I miss you." My stomach sank. I wanted to look away, to pretend I hadn't seen it, but the damage was done. Emily caught me staring and quickly took her phone, her face flushing red. "Who was that?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Just a friend," she said, too quickly, avoiding my eyes. That night I lay awake, mind racing. Was it just a friend? Or was there something more? Over the next week, I tried to ignore the feeling, but it only grew stronger. Her laughter felt forced, her excuses thinner. One afternoon, I stopped by her place unexpectedly. The door was unlocked, which was strange. I stepped inside and heard voices, Emily's and a man's. They were laughing, whispering. Then a quick kiss. I froze. My heart shattered into pieces I didn't know how to pick up. Later, Emily tried to explain. She said it meant nothing, that she was confused, but I couldn't hear her anymore. The woman I trusted had built a secret world I wasn't a part of. The betrayal wasn't just in the actions, but in the silence, the lies, the hidden moments, the broken promises. The shock of what I'd heard and seen didn't fade with time. It only got worse. Every day became a struggle to breathe, to pretend that things were normal. But deep down, I knew they never would be again. After that night, Emily and I barely spoke. I was caught between anger and sadness, between wanting answers and fearing what those answers might be. Every time I tried to ask, she would shut down or change the subject. The silence between us grew heavier. I began to notice more things: calls she took in another room, texts deleted as soon as they came in, whispers when she thought I wasn't listening. The trust I once had was slipping through my fingers like sand. One night, I followed her. I know it wasn't right, but I needed to know the truth. She went to a small cafe downtown, the kind we used to go to together. But this time, she wasn't alone. Sitting across from her was Mark, a guy from her office I'd never met. They talked quietly, their hands brushing across the table, smiles that didn't belong to someone in a committed relationship. Watching them, I felt something inside me break that I thought was unbreakable. When Emily came home, I confronted her. The walls she had built up around herself finally crumbled, and she admitted everything. Mark wasn't just a fling. He was someone she had fallen for, someone she believed understood her in ways I didn't. She said the distance between us had grown, that I was always busy, always distracted, that she felt lonely even when I was right beside her. I wanted to scream, to beg her to choose me, but all I could do was listen. The woman I loved was slipping away, and I was powerless to stop it. That night, as I lay awake, the harsh reality settled in. Sometimes love isn't enough to save what's broken. Days turned into weeks, and the distance between Emily and me grew wider, more painful. It wasn't just about Mark anymore. It was about everything we used to be. The dreams, the promises, the us. I tried to reach out, to fix what was falling apart, but every attempt felt like pushing against a wall. Emily was there, but not really. Her heart seemed somewhere else, and I was left grasping at shadows. One evening, I decided to surprise her. I showed up at her apartment with dinner, hoping to reconnect, to remind her of the life we once dreamed of building together. But when I walked in, I found Mark sitting comfortably on her couch. The sight felt like a punch to the gut. Emily's face told me everything before she even said a word. She had already made her choice. That night, we talked. Or rather, I talked while she listened. I poured out my heart, begging for a chance, for honesty, for something real. But the words bounced off a wall I could no longer break through. She told me she was sorry, that she never meant to hurt me, but that her feelings had changed. That she wanted something different now, something I couldn't give her. The betrayal stung more than I ever imagined possible. But beneath the anger and heartbreak was a strange clarity. I had to let go. Sometimes loving someone means knowing when to walk away. The days after that painful confrontation felt like walking through a fog I couldn't escape. Every memory of Emily haunted me. The way she smiled at me across a crowded room, the quiet nights we spent talking for hours, the dreams we built together. All of it seemed like a cruel joke now. I kept replaying that night in my head, coming home early to surprise her, imagining the warmth in her eyes when she'd see me. Instead, I found Mark there, sitting on my couch like he owned a part of my life. I remember standing in the doorway, frozen, my chest tightening with every breath. Emily looked up, startled, guilt washing over her face like a tidal wave. She didn't know what to say. Neither did I. The silence was deafening. For a moment, I wanted to scream, to break everything in sight. But what came out was barely a whisper. "How long?" I asked, my voice cracking. Emily looked away, tears brimming. "Months," she confessed. "I didn't mean for it to happen, not like this. But I was lonely. You were always busy. Work, friends, your own world." Her words cut deep. I wasn't perfect. I knew that. Maybe I'd been too caught up in my own life to notice she was slipping away. But still, betrayal was betrayal. The following days were a whirlwind of emotions. Anger, sadness, confusion, they crashed over me like relentless waves. Friends told me to walk away, to stop hurting myself. Family offered their support, but said little could fix this kind of break. I wanted to believe we could get through it, that love was strong enough to heal even the deepest wounds. But every time I looked at Emily, I saw a stranger. The trust we had was shattered, and rebuilding seemed impossible. One night we sat across from each other at the kitchen table. The tension was thick, suffocating. I asked her if there was any hope left, any chance to save what we had. She looked at me with tired eyes and said, "I don't know anymore." That was the moment I realized the end was near. I wanted to scream, to beg, to do anything to bring her back. But all I could do was let the tears fall and prepare myself for the hardest decision of my life. Sometimes the breaking point is not just about the betrayal, it's about accepting when love alone can't fix what's broken. After that night, everything changed. The apartment felt emptier, the silence louder. Emily moved out a week later, leaving behind the memories we once shared. Photos, gifts, little notes I had saved, now just reminders of what I lost. I was left alone with the wreckage of our relationship and the crushing weight of betrayal. It wasn't just about Emily anymore. It was about me, who I was without her, what I had become, and how I could move forward. The first few days were the hardest. I barely ate or slept. Every corner of the apartment held a memory. Every song on the radio echoed the pain in my chest. Friends reached out, but I pushed them away. I thought I had to face this alone, but grief has a strange way of forcing us to confront ourselves. Slowly, I started to realize that healing wouldn't come from clinging to the past. It had to start with accepting the pain and deciding to rebuild. I took up running. Pounding the pavement became my escape, a way to clear my mind. I started journaling, writing down every thought and feeling, no matter how raw. It helped me make sense of the chaos inside. Therapy was hard at first. Sitting across from a stranger and unpacking the betrayal was brutal, but it became a lifeline. I learned that forgiveness wasn't about forgetting what happened. It was about freeing myself from the grip of anger. Family and friends slowly became my anchor again. They reminded me of who I was beyond the broken relationship. Little by little, I found strength in their support. One day, I came across a photo of Emily and me, smiling, carefree, full of hope. Instead of tears, I felt gratitude for those moments, even if they were gone. I wasn't ready to love again. Not yet. But I was ready to live, to find myself again beyond the heartbreak. Picking up the pieces didn't mean forgetting the past. It meant learning to carry it with grace and moving forward, one step at a time. The hardest part about endings is that they force us to face ourselves, stripped down, raw, and vulnerable. After everything that happened with Emily, after the lies, the heartbreak, and the nights I thought I'd never see the sun again, I finally found myself at a crossroads. I realized that the past could either weigh me down or teach me to fly. The weeks after Emily left were the darkest I'd ever known. The silence of my apartment was deafening. I still remembered the way she'd laugh, the way her hand fit perfectly in mine, but those memories were like ghosts, haunting but untouchable. I wasn't sure who I was anymore. The man she loved had broken, and now I had to rebuild from the ruins. Therapy became a refuge, a place where I could spill my fears and anger without judgment. I learned to name my pain, to understand it wasn't the sign of weakness, but a step toward healing. The counselor told me, healing isn't linear, it's messy, and that's okay. I started reconnecting with old friends I'd pushed away during the relationship. They reminded me that I was more than just a boyfriend or a partner. I was a person with dreams, hopes, and worth. Running, which I had taken up on a whim months ago, turned into a ritual, a way to release the tension, to breathe again. Every mile I ran was a mile away from the pain, a step closer to freedom. One day, I went back to that little cafe downtown, the place Emily and I used to frequent. I sat alone, sipping my coffee, watching people come and go. Instead of feeling lost, I felt calm. I realized that the future was still mine to write. I started setting small goals, things just for me, learning to cook again, taking a photography class, even signing up for a weekend hiking trip. Life wasn't about waiting for someone else to fill the emptiness. It was about filling it myself. And then something unexpected happened. I met someone new. Not a replacement, not a rebound, but someone who saw me, really saw me, and accepted my scars along with my strengths. With her, I found laughter again, hope again. But I never forgot Emily, or the lessons from that chapter of my life. The pain taught me resilience. The betrayal taught me boundaries. The heartbreak taught me to love myself first. I learned that sometimes endings are just new beginnings in disguise. Standing here now, with the sun warming my face and the future ahead of me, I know this. Love is complicated, messy, and sometimes it hurts more than we think. But it's also beautiful, powerful, and worth fighting for, starting with the love we give ourselves. Emily's betrayal had shattered more than my heart. It broke my trust, my self-worth, and almost my spirit. I was drowning in a sea of questions. Was I ever enough? Was love supposed to hurt this much? Could I ever believe again? The nights were the worst. Alone in my dark apartment, the silence screaming louder than any noise. I played every moment over in my mind. Every lie, every secret meeting, every stolen smile that wasn't meant for me. But then came a moment, a choice. I could let this pain define me, swallow me whole, and destroy everything good left inside. Or I could fight. I chose to fight. It wasn't easy. Healing never is. There were days when I wanted to scream at the sky, to give up entirely. But with every tear, every painful memory, I forced myself to stand back up. I reached out for help, therapy, honest conversations, the kind that leave you raw but real. I learned that betrayal doesn't just break hearts, it exposes the cracks within ourselves. It forced me to face parts of me I'd ignored, my fears, my insecurities, my silence. And I realized something crucial. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting or excusing the hurt. It's about freeing myself from the prison of bitterness. I learned to set boundaries, not just with others, but with myself. To stop blaming and start rebuilding. One day, I confronted Emily again. Not for answers or apologies, but for closure. We talked honestly, raw and unfiltered. She confessed her mistakes, her regrets. I told her my pain, my truth. And in that moment, something shifted. I didn't need her to fix me. I didn't need her to come back. I needed to heal. For me. As I walked away from that chapter, I understood that sometimes the most courageous love is the love you give yourself. I'm not perfect. I'm still learning. But I'm stronger. The past will always be a part of me, but it won't control my future. This is my choice, to live fully, love bravely, and never settle for anything less than I deserve. Because at the end of the day, betrayal may break you,